The idea of Frame is to build a new operating system for businesses. We're quite frustrated about the number of applications you had to run on to run a business end to end. And so we decided to create one platform where you can run your business end to end. So it's composed of a suite of native apps for work. People already operate on Trello, you live on Linear, you live on Jira, so your data is pretty much like spread around all those apps. So we quickly understood that we needed a platform like Paragon to, scale integration faster and give the ability to our user to connect their external data to Frame.
Paragon helps monitoring and troubleshooting issues. That's a very big plus, because otherwise, if you're developing it in your own or even having some open source solution, the only thing that you really have is your server logs. Then you have to figure out from there what happens. And there is no ability to replay. There is no ability to see like logs for different user. You may, depending on how your application is set up, you may just have a bunch of logs in one place, and then you have to figure out which user they belong to. So all of those issues I can just put into monitoring, troubleshooting category that saved a lot of time when something actually goes wrong. Paragon probably takes 3 times less time to figure out what the issue is. If you have your own solution for integration, it doesn't matter as much how many integration you have already. You also have to figure out the new stuff. While with Paragon, after you have one integration ready, you just basically copy paste the same steps and you have like 60% of the work already done for you. I do like this notion of different environments where you set up workflows. For example, we have develop, staging, production, quite classic setup. So we actively work in development environment, and then we can gradually deploy changes from develop to staging to production. And then we actually see what's deployed. We can roll back releases if something goes wrong. Plus, Paragon handles things like retries. You may have users that have lots of documents that are connected, and you need to figure out how do you handle rate limits in order to avoid running into some issues there. How do you do like retries if you cannot synchronize some documents? And the ability to preprocess data right within Paragon before sending it to our servers, having the ability to add a few small JavaScript functions to get the data into the format that we want. Like, for example, Gmail API, they give you back base64 instead of text. And if your API is expected to receive text instead of base64, you can just convert this right within Paragon and then work with text directly. So you may have 10 different providers. They give you 10 different types of data, and you can just unify this right inside Paragon and then send the unified output to our system. At least that's what we do, and it's been working quite well. About unified APIs, I see some value in it, but I think all of those different integration providers, like if you compare Google Docs versus Airtable, the data that you're going to be working with would be fundamentally different. You can map it to some sort of like same interface and work with that. But I think if you look at all the applications that you support, like 150 different providers, you either going to end up with a huge interface or something that just throws out a lot of important details in order to maintain this simple interface. So I think having like one interface per provider, and then when we develop integration, we decide which data to pull and which data to exclude. I think that's the best solution.
Yeah, so I think so far we shipped 5 integration, and we managed to do that by staffing one senior engineer per week on one integration, which would have taken us essentially weeks to do. So hundreds of engineering hours already so far. And obviously that saving will compound over time. So we're pretty happy about our choice. So when you connect an external application to your Frame OS, there's 4 things you can do. You can actually do cross-app search of your core object. So a core object, for example, is an email for Gmail. It's going to be a lead for HubSpot. It's going to be a ticket for Jira. So you can cross-app search those core objects directly from Frame. Refer, for example, Notion page from a Note app, or you can refer an Airtable entry directly from a whiteboard using our cross-app link capabilities. And the third way you can use your integration is that you have real-time awareness of your AI employees. So for example, you can deploy a product manager inside your OS that's real-time aware of your Jira data cube. And so you can pretty much like ask any question, not only about your Jira, but that knows who you are, what's the history of interaction you had with them, and can be actually connected to other data cubes, like for example, Intercom or your Gmail. And the last way you can use integration is you can query specific documents in the lens of your AI employee. So you could say, for example, you could deploy an AI software engineer and ask it, tell me more about ticket X. So those are 4 ways you can use our integration so far. So the typical integration you will see at the top of the list: HubSpot, Linear, Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, and then you go into more exotic application down the line. The vision of Frame is that you'll be able to deploy any kind of AI employees. And again, they will have infinite memory. They will have real-time understanding of your company data. The second dimension is that you'll be able to give them access to different piece of software, be it Jira or Gmail or DocuSign. And then the third dimension is our commands. So we are developing a certain number of commands. Like we start with basic commands like read, update, create, and then we are developing more advanced commands like search, track, process, remind. And so we're quite excited about where that leads us.